So the classes are basically to help you out in your problems, right? To prepare you well for 2026, to give you that clarity, to give you that confidence that yes, you are good to go. So if we talk about the developments that happened, let's say from 1757 to 1857 in terms of the constitutional developments, many students still don't know why are they called as constitutional acts, what is important and what is not important. In that dilemma, you end up doing everything and you end up doing random things which are not useful. You will be given mnemonics to give you that confidence, that dose of confidence which you all require कि हाँ बुद्धिज्म जैनिज्म हो गया, राजगृह रा, वैशाली वा, पाटलिपुत्र पा, कश्मीर का सो रवा पका. How many of you are feeling not so confident? How many of you are feeling that you need to consolidate and revise whatever you have gone through in the last 1 or 1.5 years? So, hello everyone. I welcome you all to this session to give you a brief idea about the new course which the Vision IS is coming up with on quick revision classes. Now, this course is specifically designed for those who are not feeling so confident about the prelims 2026 examination and yet they want to appear and clear the prelims examination. So, in this course, I will be taking up your art and culture as well as your modern Indian history. So, before I tell you how the classes would be designed, first I would like to tell you who all can benefit from these classes. So, if you are not able to still shortlist, what all topics you want to read, if you're still not clear what is important, what is not important, but you still want to clear prelims 2026, you are not able to chart out any strategy, you are, feeling bit lost in your preparation, then these courses or specifically your quick revision classes would help you. Now, what these classes entail? These classes will provide you a very consolidated, crisp, targeted material which will be used as a reference material. Secondly, the course is designed to simply align your UPSC topics with the topics which are important in any subject, right? So the classes are basically to help you out in your problems, right? To prepare you well for 2026, to give you that clarity, to give you that confidence that yes, you are good to go, right? Now, telling you about how these classes are designed specifically when it comes to art and culture and modern Indian history, right? So as I told you that there are this quick revision reference material modules. So I will be taking up your art and culture as well as modern Indian history, right? So let me first give you a perspective on how modern Indian history, topics would be dealt. Now, talking about modern Indian history, the problem which the students face is not about the understanding, because the story is well understood and woven in your mind. But what is a challenge in modern Indian history is that how you weave the facts alongside the story, right? I think that this is the biggest challenge which the students face while preparing history, that they feel that what is important, what is not important, they are not able to figure it out, right? So that is why such courses help you to streamline your strategy. Now, in this quick revision module, you have very broad topics which are very important from UPSC prelims point of view. So, for example, you have advent of Europeans. For example, you have, the rise of the companies which played a very critical role in the history of India and specifically with respect to British East India Company. Then you have Revolt of 1857. Then you have a chapter which is specifically catering to the needs of the prelims facts. So there is a specific chapter on governor generals and what all things have happened in their reign or phase, right? Then you have revolutionary nationalism, socio-religious reform movement. So all of the themes which are important from examination point of view, right? So I feel that by now the students who have revised modern Indian history once, they are clear about certain micro themes. And what are they? So there are, questions being asked on advent of Europeans. You do get questions on economic impact of British policies. You also get, almost every year questions on constitutional and administrative acts. This is one area I feel that many of the students do it very factually, right? They just mug up the facts but still not confident, right? You do get questions which are driven by personality and their contribution. So there are personality based questions. Now the questions which UPSC ask in personality, the contributions either they have done in Indian national movement, the contributions either they have done in, let's say, social religious movement, or by their participation in resenting the government or the British policies, right? So these are some of the, micro themes which precede the Gandhian phase. Then comes your Indian national movement phase questions. Now here, the questions whichever have been asked, they have primarily focused on Gandhian movements, right? But having said that, that does not mean that, we only have to treat Indian national movement like that, right? So all of that idea or the wisdom or the experience which we all have with respect to UPSC previous year questions as well as, the themes, they all will be synced and integrated with the, quick revision module. So this is one thing which you all should feel confident about, that the themes which have been coming in the previous year questions will be aligned with the quick revision module, right? Now, talking specifically about the areas which are very, very difficult to understand, let's say when we talk about British acts and policies. So whenever any student is trying to understand, let's say, British acts and policies, how this will be done in the classes. So when we talk about constitutional developments or administrative acts, I always give this idea to the student that first, instead of focusing on timeline and being very specific about the key facts, I feel that there has to be some kind of understanding or the reasoning or the rationale behind any step that has been taken by the Britishers at that point of time. So if we talk about the developments that happened, let's say from 1757 to 1857 in terms of the constitutional developments, many students still don't know why are they called as constitutional acts. So constitutional acts is a term which has been ascribed to these developments because at that point of time there was no constitution, there was no written code, right? So whatever the Governor General was coming up in the form of rules and policies and laws, they had been coming from the British Parliament. That is why British Parliament used to pass these acts. And those acts and laws and policies were implemented through Governor Generals or Viceroy in India, right? So this is what the clarity many students are not having with respect to constitutional development. So they simply, open spectrum, they simply read books, and without having clarity, reason or logic, they are mugging up facts. That's why mugging up facts in history has become very difficult for many, right? So this idea or clarity would be provided in the classes to help you out in remembering, these developments, right? So why, 1773, the Regulating Act is called as Regulating Act because it was the first act that regulated the activities of East India Company for the first time in India through the British Parliament, right? So such clarity is given. Then why the 74 Pitt's India Act is known as Pitt's India Act? Because it was kept on the name of British Prime Minister William Pitts, right? So what was the ideology? What were the background? What is the circumstance in which these acts got passed? Helps in student in identifying the provisions and understanding them, right? So such things or clarity will be provided. Apart from that, after once you have got this clarity, there will be efforts or initiatives, taken up to make you remember things as they are in the class, right? So for example, if there is this 1861 Councils Act, right? So there will be mnemonics given. So for example, there is a mnemonic Rep Depot, which you can associate with 1861 Councils Act. Rep stands for representative institutions. D stands for decentralization. P stands for portfolio. O stands for ordinance, right? So when you understand, or in the classes such mnemonics are given, it becomes easy for you to recollect facts, right? I know many of you must have read 1861 Councils Act or these acts several number of times, but still not able to remember or recall. So such things will be part of your classes, right? Then talking about another area, for example, social religious reform movement. So till the time you don't know the background, till the time you don't know why, and what was the reason behind the social reformers going for reforms, who backed them, who supported them, what is this orientalist philosophy, what is this anglicist philosophy, again, mugging up facts or understanding them will become difficult. So in these classes you have concise frameworks being given, concise visuals being given, understanding being given in just classes, number of classes like 6 to 7 is what I'll take in modern Indian history, right? So that is what you can make feel confident about. The next main topic which you have in your modern Indian history is from your Indian national movement phase. So here also you will be given certain frameworks, some kind of key pointers to help you out in developing that understanding. So just to give you an example, so the first phase of Indian national movement phase is known as moderate phase. So why it is known as the Indian national movement in the very first place? What is nationalism? Who are moderates? What is this moderate philosophy? Right? So such things is what marks or defines any phase, right? So if you talk about the chief characteristic of Indian national movement, the ideas or the philosophies of nationalism, patriotism, the reasons behind the rise of nationalism, first you have to understand to make sense why different personalities or Indians went or contributed or participated in the movement. Now, the most important point being that this phase is defined with the rise of the Congress, which was the first all India political organization. So when I'm saying that it was the first all India political organization, so definitely some idea about which were the pre-Congress associations or political organizations before the Congress. So the chief difference between the rest of the pre-Congress associations and the formation of all India political organization by the name of Indian National Congress, becomes important. So what were the ideologies, what were the methods they adopted, how they were different from extremists, who are revolutionaries, what led to the rise of revolutionary movement, what is the second phase of Indian national movement. It is manifested, or it is characterized by the rise of extremism and revolutionary ideas. Alongside this, you also see growth of communal organizations, like the formation of All India Muslim League, like the formation of Punjab Hindu Sabha, like the formation of your Hindu Mahasabha. So all of that becomes the chief defining characteristics of this phase. So when you understand that this phase is characterized by all these developments, this phase is characterized by these developments, you understand the nature. And once you understand the nature, again, syncing and integrating facts or learning them becomes very, very easy, right? And all the more now, if you've gone through the 2025 examination, specifically with respect to modern Indian history, a lot of conceptual questions are asked. They have asked about non-cooperation program. So what does non-cooperation program includes? So you need to know certain, ideas which went behind the Indian national movement phases, right? So that is how the classes would be designed. Now, I know many students have this FOMO of, I don't know how to develop a timeline. I lack timeline in my notes, right? So for those who have this FOMO, fear of missing out, that whether some kind of chronology would be given or not. So yes, definitely in modern Indian history, chronology or sense of timeline without saying is important, because the nature of history is so, right? So the key ideas or the timeline specifically which are very important be kept in mind would be provided to you, right? So for example, the decision or the announcement of partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon was done in 1903, but the actual partition happened in 1905, right? So what all developments happened in 1905 that led to the decision or formal proclamation of the partition of Bengal is what you need to know, right? Then, what all other developments happened alongside when the partition of Bengal was going up. Was there any Congress session? Was there any other movement that was launched, right? So all of that would also be taken care of, right? We will be providing you, for example, in history or any other subject, the other faculties would be giving you a fair or decent idea on how the current affairs could be integrated. So just to give you an example, Vande Mataram is celebrating 150 years this year, right? So again, Vande Mataram is an essential or a very important component of your partition of Bengal or the phase of Indian national movement ranging from 1905 to 1911, right? So this is what you have to know, right? Which is required for any candidate to clear prelims examination, right? So all of these ideas would be given to you. The clarity would be given to you, right? Mnemonics would be given to you so that you are pre-ready, right? Now, talking about culture, again, the similar format and approach would be followed. There will be a reference material in the form of quick revision material would be given to you, which has your ancient India architecture, sculpture, music, dance, religion and philosophy, painting, puppetry, theater, language and literature, scientific and technological development. So all of these are broad macro themes of your art and culture. But how the content and classes are designed, they are designed to integrate alongside the content the UPSC PYQs micro themes, right? Again, the biggest challenge in culture, what many students face is that they are not able to visualize the content which they are reading, right? So when it comes to modern Indian history, they are not able to relate how things happen, why things happen. In culture, although there is a reason we have behind why any dynasty has gone for construction of temples, right? But still, till the time you don't see the visuals, till the time you are not having this flow chart, right, mind maps, again, recalling facts or understanding that subject would always be hollow, right? So to be very sure how things happen, why things happen, what all is the constituent part becomes very important in culture also. So just to give you an example, when we talk about modern art and architecture, first of all, students should know that what all is part of modern art and architecture. So modern art and architecture is broadly divided into two kinds of initiatives that were taken. One by the state or the king, that what all sculptures or architecture they have to develop, and the other one was on the initiative of the individuals, which is known as popular art. So when it comes to court art or the state initiative, the king or the royal families took specific effort to build pillar edicts or rock edicts, stoops, which they dedicated to, let's say, Ajivikas or Buddhist monks. Then on the basis of individuals initiative, guilds, merchants, Brahmins, they set up caves, pottery, sculptures. So that was part of your popular or individual initiative. Then we add the themes, then we add the facts. So when it comes to stupas or pillars, here rock edicts are very, very important, right? When we talk about stoop, what is a stoop? It is a burial mound, right? Stoops then got converted into chaitya, which is a worship hall, right? So that's what is or will be given to you. Now, recently, the Ashokan rock edicts have come in the news. So that would make this topic even more relevant from current affairs point of view, right? Next, apart from this, so obviously, why the Indus Valley civilization is known as Indus Valley civilization, what is the chief characteristic? Till the time you don't know it, you will not be able to appreciate why architecture is focused. Because Indus Valley civilization is known for its urban and town planning. So till the time you don't know the chief characteristic of every phase, you will not be able to understand what is important and what is not important. And my dear candidates and students, this is the biggest challenge which you all face, right? What is important and what is not important? In that dilemma, you end up doing everything and you end up doing random things which are not useful. So to help you out in all of these things, it becomes important for you to know that, this is how you should consolidate and prepare subjects for prelims point of view, right? Again, in your culture classes also, wherever possible, let's say Buddhism and Jainism is a very important theme in culture, you will be given mnemonics to give you that confidence, that dose of confidence which you all require, ki haan, Buddhism, Jainism ho gaya, and the things which we have done are all relevant. I will be giving you certain kind of mnemonics. So for example, when we are talking about Buddhist councils, so Buddhist councils happened in Rajgriha, Vaishali, Patliputra, Kashmir. So there is a mnemonic which you can use to remember this, right? I don't know how many of you know what is rava, but rava is suji, a kind of food item which is used to make halwa, right? So rava paka. So obviously you can't have rava or suji which is half cooked. It has to be cooked, paka. It is a Hindi word. So this is a mnemonic which you can use to remember the places at which Buddhist councils have happened. So for example, Rajgriha, Ra, Vaishali, Va, Patliputra, Pa, Kashmir Ka. So Rava, Paka. So like this, in these classes, because you only have 4 to 6 classes, I will make sure that wherever possible, and the themes which are important, let's say for example Buddhism, Jainism, wherever mnemonics can be given, I will be giving it to you, right? So this is about these classes and the subjects which I will be taking up. So just be very confident and about the whole preparation. And if someone is targeting 2026, I feel the key to success and clear prelims is how much you read, but how well you read it, how well you are able to consolidate, how well you are able to revise and recall in the examination setup, right? So when you come to these classes, all of this will be given to you. At least we will try our level best to give you that confidence, and then you integrate with your test series questions, right? So this is about the classes and the subjects which I will be taking up. I hope to see you soon in the classes. So all the very best.